Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tell Your Story. I'm your host, Todd Nesloni, and each episode I look to bring you a different guest who has encouraged, inspired, or challenged me in one way or another, and bring them on to share some of their story in hopes that it inspires you to tell some of yours. I'm thrilled for today's episode to bring on Ashley Ogal with me. Ashley, tell everybody kind of who you are.
Hey, everybody. It's so awesome to be here. Thank you, Todd. Hey, I'm Ashley Ogal, and I'm a teacher, and I'm the founder of We Teach Joy, a nonprofit based in Texas, and we host workshops, retreats, and other fun events to encourage, equip, and empower educators.
Well, Ashley, I am so excited to get to chat with you today. You and I chatted last week about some other stuff, and so I was like, oh, I couldn't wait to have you as a guest. I absolutely love the work you're doing, so I have so much I want to dive into today. But, no matter who I'm interviewing and where they're from, I always like to start with the beginning. So when you were a kid, what did you dream that you wanted to be? Like, was educator even on that list?
Yeah, it was not. My mother is a teacher and has been in education for 35 years. And I just said, nope, I'm not doing it. And everyone was like, you've got to do it. It's going to be great. It's in you. And I just said no. And so I wanted to be Oprah. I went to school and I studied radio and TV. And I just knew that's what I was going to do. I was convinced. And then my junior year, my dad had a pretty serious talk with me and was like, Ashley, maybe we need to reconsider this TV dream. And it was like right before everything went crazy in America, like 2008, 2009. It was like when everything crashed, and it was like, we probably should think of a good backup. And so I started education. I studied education, and it was like, I don't even think I still want to do this. But God was so faithful. Like the only certification I got was to teach speech, because I thought, well, I'll just kind of stay in that rhythm of TV and communication. And I got a job in December, a speech job in December. So it was just a total God thing that he opened up the door for me to be in the classroom with juniors and seniors teaching communication.
I love that so much. Now, now that you've been in education for a little bit, what do you feel like you've learned about yourself since becoming a teacher?
Man, gosh, so many things, so many things. I feel like the greatest thing I've learned, which has been so much fun, is that I love to serve. And that no matter what's going on, like I'm always focused on kids. Like, and it drives people nuts, right? Because I'm always like, well, let's not do that because I don't think that's a good idea for kids. And people are like, well, actually, we're going to do that. And so through it all, I mean, like hard conversations with administration and like trouble been written up at times because I've just been adamant about this is what's right for kids. And so I love to serve. And I think more than anything, my understanding of family and the importance of family and like family dynamics at home that I can't control, but then creating a family in my classroom, like creating a true community in my classroom, and how powerful that really is. Like no matter what's going on around us, like that classroom may be a hot mess. The district may have told us to do this, but in this classroom, we're a family. We're a true community.
I love that. Well, Ashley, you also started this nonprofit called We Teach Joy. And I love what this stands for and what you try to do for educators and just people in general. So tell me a little bit, or tell the listeners and viewers kind of what it is and how it got started.
Yeah. So I taught in the Middle East for a couple years. I taught in Kuwait and in Qatar.
Oh, wow.
And when I was there was like a crazy sandstorm. It was like one of the worst ones ever. And in Kuwait. And I was trying to find my way back, and I just thought, man, if I was connected to more people, like the whole drive back from school that day, I was like, if I knew people, I could have like these stopping points. I could stop at that person's house and like wait it out a little bit. I could stop here, but I don't know anybody. I'm like a foreigner in this country. The only people I know are the people I teach with. We all live in the same apartment. And really that triggered me to think, what if teachers are really connected? Like, what if teachers had true connections with people that weren't just in their building, but people kind of throughout the state, throughout the nation? And it was a true connection. Like, I could call on you not just to say, hey, help me with my lesson plans, but like, can you pray with me? Can you help me? Because I'm having a really hard time in my house, or whatever was going on in your life, like if you needed help. So I love to be a kind of person who allows my faith and my work
Mhm.
to merge. And so We Teach Joy is a faith-based nonprofit that really is focused on these kinds of connections for educators, to say there is an inner work that has
Yeah.
to happen before you're able to make true impact with kids. Like, you yourself have to make sure that you're in tune with who God's called you to
Mhm.
be before you can actually then go and encourage this generation that needs it and deserves it. And so, again, at the heart of We Teach Joy, we're looking out for kids, saying,
Mhm.
if one child walked into one classroom with one teacher who truly believed in them, we know that that's a ripple effect, and that seeds will be planted, and that can be planted. But we want to make sure you, the educators, are taken care of. So it's beyond self care, Todd. Like, we're yep. Please get your nails done. Get Fix your hair, get all of it, do all the things you need, but like, there is inner spiritual work that has to happen for people who know the Lord, for people who are connected to Christ. He wants to do an inner work in you so that when you leave your little four walls at your house, that there's an impact that you make outside of your home every day. So,
Well, what I would say to you and to anybody listening, any educators that are listening or watching today knows how hard it is to be a teacher. And so what I would say to you is bravo for still finding the energy and to on top of what you do as a career to bring people together for no other goal than to give them a space of connection, of community, of love, of compassion. Like I love that that's exactly what it stands for. What are your big dreams for We
oh,
Teach Joy?
man. Oh, Todd, I'm a dreamer.
Oh, I
Like,
know.
I'm a dreamer, and I have crazy dreams that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, could we do that?" If you think about this for a minute, consider, um, just the best teacher you've ever had. Like, just think of her, think of him, put their name in your head, and, like, all the stuff they did, like, all the energy they had to keep up with the basics of grading and attendance and having a decent classroom and emailing parent or communicating with parents, whatever it was back then or now. And all of that, it's like, that was just one person. That
Mhm.
was just one person doing all that for you. And they had 25 others that they were looking at with that same perspective. And so for me, I want to be able to host larger events. We keep finding that we're hosting little events around Texas, and people are like, wait, y'all are doing this for teachers only? Like, this is like an exclusive. And we're like, yeah, we're hosting an event that is just, we roll out the red carpet for
Yeah.
teachers to say thank you for 7 hours. They're getting professional development credit with that, but they're also just getting like really healthy
Mhm.
dialogue and like deep, strong, rich dialogue. Like, and we have some pastors who come in that are like fearlessly preaching about race and ethnicity and diversity in classrooms. And so we're hitting all these things that are like, we're not really supposed to connect our faith to that, but we're doing it. So a big vision would be a larger conference. But oh, Todd, you guys just, all of you just stay tuned, because there's one that's even bigger than that, that we're just pumped about. And it's a national thing that we're doing
Yeah.
to really go empower some nations and some
Yeah.
teachers in other nations to go do the work that we know makes true impact in communities, that truly sets people, human beings, up for the life God's called them to live.
Well, what I love about you, Ashley, is just your positive mindset, how rooted you are in your faith, and how much you want to serve others. And I want to say that in shifting to kind of a more personal question here. And, what I want to ask is for people who are listening today, we have a lot going on in our country right now. We have a lot of upheaval, a lot of things happening, a lot of racism, a lot of anger. How do you, as a woman of color and a woman of faith, how do you hold everything together and keep your head up and still fight for what you know is right? Like, how do you not lose hope?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. Um, Todd, I'm so grateful because I was raised in a Christian home and I was taught to do the right things. And so for the greater part of my life, I've just known how to do the right thing. And I'm a rule follower. And so I just kind of just get in line and do the right thing. But the Lord's really shaken me up in the past few years, really the past 3 years. And I don't know if that's having a son now and just thinking about the world and thinking about everything that's going on, and then seeing things happen in my classroom and in my school district that I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this system.
Yeah.
We're moving that way. Like,
Yeah.
I can't. And so one of the first things that I do is I just go back to the basics of like, I have to get alone with the Lord. Like, I have to spend time alone with Jesus and know that he's real enough for me. So whatever it is that you believe, like I told you, I lived in the Middle East. I love Muslims. I love religions. I've got a real love for all of them. And I think whoever it is that you call on, like whoever it is that gives you strength and power that's not of this world, you better be calling on them in these moments and allow them to prove themselves real. For me, Jesus has proven himself real to me over and over again. And so when I look out into the world, and even before I got on this call with you, I was looking at what's been happening recently. And it's just, it's appalling. It's disgusting to think that those things are happening in this nation that I love so much.
Right.
And so I'm like, what do? I combat it with prayer, one, knowing that my God is powerful enough.
Yeah.
I then combat it with a voice. I allow We Teach Joy to be an avenue where teachers can say, I don't like this. And let's really have this dialogue so that we're not in the dark, that there's not a community that's been beaten and struck down and abused, and like everyone else is away from that. So, like, we can ignore that and turn our heads and act like that doesn't impact us, because it's like, no, all of that impacts us, like the good and the bad. We are a nation, and we have to recognize that these things are still happening. So recognize it, but then do something. You know, I truly believe in, it's not our focus that We Teach Joy. Our focus is Jesus. But if I can get you in a room with a Hispanic man who can speak to you about this, Ricky will tell you later. Ricky's one of our speakers, and he does this whole slide of like, here's all the negative traits that you could speak over that child. Like, they're this, they're that, they're this, all the negatives. And he literally merges them with positive, a lot of them biblical, but a lot of them just good things you can speak over a child. And I believe that I am a product of educators who spoke life over me, who saw me and were like, you're a leader, Ashley. Hey, Ashley, you know what? You are funny. And people love being around you, and you've got a great personality. And at 11, I started believing that stuff. Like, I started letting that just be like, oh, I am. I do. Yeah. And so if I can get educators to move with that kind of trajectory, knowing that their classroom is actually a mission field and that they're on mission to light up a child's life that may live in total darkness, I just know that work matters. And so I leave every event almost in tears and so tired, like beat up tired, because I'm like, why would I do this? Like, why am I doing this? And it's because I'm like, it matters. Because if I've taught someone how to turn their perspective and see someone like God sees them, that's it, right? Like, we won't have all of this perpetual racism because people are beginning to see each other with proper lenses.
Well, you know, a great question I have as somebody who is white and aware of my privilege and my own biases that I've worked through, things like that. Like, how can more of us who are white be allies instead of bystanders?
Yeah, man. How long do we have? Because let me give you two things, because I have a lot. But I think one of the things we can do for sure, and this is for everybody, whatever race you are, check your friends right now. And I've been on mission trips. I mean, I'm a good Christian girl. You name the camp, I've served at it. You name the church service, I've been to it. Like, I follow all the right people and all that. But I'm telling you right now, if you're telling me you're going on mission trips to China, but you have no Chinese friends in America,
right?
Come on. You're telling me you love going to Kenya, but you have no Kenyan friends, like, in America. You tell me you love Black people, but you've never walked into a Black household, or that you can't. There's no way that you actually can. So let's all get real. And I'm speaking to myself too about our friends. There are Asian cultures that I don't understand. I get confused about who you are, what you believe, and I shouldn't. Like, I live in Dallas, and we're number 2 in the world for diverse, and in the United States for diversity. Any community you want to know, they're right here in Dallas. And so for me, it's shameful to think like you don't understand Korean culture. Well, that's a choice you've made. Like, you yourself have said no to that culture. And so check your friends. And then secondly, begin to use your voice right where you are. I always want things to be fancy. Like, I always want things to look a certain way, very aesthetically pleasing, and I want things to be set up. But I think sometimes it's like right where you are. Like, if you're at your grandma's house and she's saying some things that you feel uncomfortable about, I don't know, maybe you're supposed to say something. Maybe there's a
Yeah.
little cousin that's watching you. Or if you're at the grocery store and you see something going wrong, just like, you always see like if you see something, say something. But for real, you see something, you say something, you be a voice to that, and stand up with a courage of like, I don't actually stand for that. I don't actually believe in that. You see something in your school, you see something in your classroom, speak up and say something, because there are lives on the other side of the things that you do. And you have to realize that, like, how you live, what you do, there's a ripple effect and it impacts people, good or bad. I'm lucky. I was raised around a lot of white people, Todd. So my whole life, so I've got this understanding and this insight that I feel like I'm really fortunate. So I can speak to my friends. Like, I was just on Marco Polo with them, asking them like, "Hey, have y'all seen this? Have y'all looked at this?" And they're like uncomfortable still. I've been doing this for 10 years. I mean, and they're like, wait. And I'm like, you need to watch it.
Yeah.
You need to realize what's going on. So be that kind of person in your friendships and your families that speaks up and says what's really going on.
Well, there's several things you said that I really want to point out that stuck with me. And I'm hoping my Wi-Fi holds up, by the way, because the storm is rolling in right now. So I'm hoping that we can make it through this conversation without me losing electricity. But one thing that you said is check who your friends are. And I think so many of us, that's going to be an eye-opening moment when we do that. Because, the benefit of social media is it has removed any excuse for you to not have a diverse circle that you are with multiple personalities, backgrounds, religions, everything. And so I think you saying that right there, like, there is no excuse for any of us not to have a varied group of friends that will push our thinking and challenge us. And I think, when I look at my own life and, like I said, my own biases and my own different things that I've been through, I can see a lot that many times where the voices weren't varied, and that's why I believed what I believed, and I didn't take the time to invest. And when you said, if you are going on a mission trip to China but you don't have any Chinese friends, I mean, like, I look at that and I go, you cannot argue with that. Like, if you are not spending time to get to know the culture outside of just reading about it online, like spending with people who that is, they're in and out every day. Like, to me, that's when things become real. When when I talk to one of my Muslim friends who wears a hijab, and she tells me the things she's been through, the things that have been said to her, but how steadfast she's remained in her faith, and how steadfast she's remained in surrounding herself and protecting herself. I mean, that's when it takes it to a whole nother level where it's like, I didn't know this. I didn't know this outside of a movie or an article. Like, when you personally get to know people, that's when it changes things. And so I love that you shared those examples, because like I said, there really is no excuse anymore for us not growing our circle of influence.
Yeah.
And I think we can always do better. I look at the work that you've done and the work that I've done, and I still look at myself and go, I'm nowhere near where I need to be. Like, I can still do better. I can still learn more. I still make mistakes. So I don't think you're, and correct me if, there it goes. Okay, my electricity is starting to go out. It's okay. Okay, we're gonna try to get through this. So I know I can see it all flashing. It's all, my wife's like over there going, oh my goodness. Okay, so anyway, but what my point is that, I don't think that anybody out there is saying you have to be perfect. But what I think is the constant conversation is, and being us as educators, it's even more important that how are we ever going to be there for all of our kids until we've put in the work to learn their cultures, their backgrounds, their family makeup, their religion, like whatever it is. We've got to put in the work, and it's hard, and sometimes it's painful, and sometimes we don't want to do it, but that's when the change happens. And so for the people who are listening today, I think one thing that I always, before I go into that, there's two questions I want to end on. First question is, I know you've dealt with all kinds of things, positive and negative, people saying things, thinking things, believe, whatever. How do you hold firm to who you are and not
Mhm.
lose sight and lose hope. And hopefully we will be able to make it
Yeah.
through. I don't know if you
Oh,
can see
and
the
I'll
light
make it quick.
flashing.
Yeah, I see the flickering, because you know what? For myself, I've been given heaps of grace and still am giving grace every single day to walk out a life that I believe in, that I feel committed to, that there's a conviction in my heart, Todd, like greater than anything. There's a conviction that I know that is heavenly that I have to walk out. And
Yeah,
I know that when my life is over, I want people to go, man, she stood for something and
I
she
love it.
believed in it enough to do it. And like, so there's a fearlessness in me, and even some days a recklessness about who I am, because I'm like, life is short. Like, life is short, and I want to make sure I'm living it on purpose. And so there's a commitment that I have to the Lord and to my faith and to my family. I think about my son so much. I think about his life and what people will say about who he is, and I'm like, that will fall back on me and how I lived my life. And so I want there to be this accountability to
Mhm.
who I know that I am. And so much of that is in my friendships, in people who, every We Teach Joy event, I'm like, y'all, this is the last one. I'm tired and I'm worn out and I'm tired. I got to turn in my grades tomorrow and I'm tired. And I can't believe I drove all the way down to Houston and there's
Yep.
10 of y'all here. And like, I say that at every event. And then somebody walks up to me and they're like, you can't stop doing this. Like, you have to stay. And then my board members are like, you got to keep going, Ashley. This matters. And so people come alongside of me and they hold me accountable. I think that's the greatest thing for me, is my faith, being accountable to the Lord. And then two, my husband, who drives to every event and loads everything and loads it. I mean, there's people around me that are like, keep going. And you need a team of people like that around you.
Well, Ashley, the question I want to close on, and first of all, I say thank you for your work. Thank you for pushing us, for making us think, for loving us, for doing everything you do. But my final question that I always love to end on is, if there's one thing people walk away with today, what is your one thing?
Yeah. You know, I'm telling you, follow your conviction. Whatever that is, whatever's in your heart that keeps you up at night and that it wakes you up in the morning, and you're like, oh, I feel that still. I feel that tingle. And sometimes it's a small tingle, sometimes it's a big tingle.
Yeah.
Follow that leading, because I think it's from God. I think He's put big dreams in our hearts and it's for His glory. But ultimately, your life, you were breathed, there was air breathed into you for a reason. And so you've got to make the most of it. You can't use it for naught. And then the second thing really is to see people. Okay. Really see people, see those students in your classroom, see that administrator, really take the time to actually look at life and say, man, you're on this earth for a purpose. And I want to encourage you. I want to inspire you to keep going. Oh, I think I lost you. Woo woo. You guys are awesome.